Pullman sandwich bread is characterized by a lot of crumb in relation to crust. It has a soft, white and smooth interior and a beautifully golden brown exterior. It is one of the most basic sandwich breads. As we already know, simple ingredients make great breads. A little bit of milk, sugar and butter work absolute wonders when it comes to softness. We have made a similar bread in the past. It contained potato starch and milk powder, both of which are quite uncommon ingredients. So for this version, I decided to stick to the basics and replace them. Instead of milk powder, we'll just use milk. I will replace the potato starch with more flour. I will link the video for the previous version of this recipe down below. But for now, let's get on with this one. Let me show you how it's done. Starting with the ingredients, we'll need some white bread flour, water, milk, yeast, salt, butter and sugar. You can use any yeast that you like. Fresh yeast, active dry yeast or instant yeast. You'll find the conversions in the written recipe. When it comes to the equipment, we'll need a bowl, scales, a dough scraper, a temperature probe and a baking tin. Pullman bread is characterized by its tall sides and its square shape, both of which are achieved by using the special baking tin with a lid. The one I have measures at around 9 inches or 23 centimeters long, 4 inches or 10 centimeters deep, as well as 4 inches or 10 centimeters wide. If you're gonna bake this in a regular 2-pound loaf tin, reduce the amount of ingredients by 20%. Okay, let's start the process, and it all begins with temperature control. My kitchen is around 24 degrees Celsius or 75 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm using water that's around 22 degrees Celsius or 72 degrees Fahrenheit. It will warm up by a couple degrees as we work the dough, as we are aiming for a final dough temperature around 25 degrees Celsius or 77 degrees Fahrenheit. To make the dough, grab a large bowl, pour the water into it, add the yeast, the salt and the sugar and give it all a good mix. You want to dissolve the salt and sugar completely. Then add the milk and the butter. Adding the milk and the butter at the end has no special reason. I simply decided to melt the salt and the sugar in the water, but it makes no difference at all. When it comes to the butter, you can use melted butter if you want to. It will be slightly easier to work it into the dough that way. My kitchen was pretty warm and the butter was quite soft. That's why I didn't melt it. Okay, once you have added the final ingredient, the white bread flour, grab your dough scraper and mix it to a dough. I can imagine some of you asking why I'm using a mix of milk and water. Using 100% milk might make the dough too sticky and too loose. Using only a portion of milk as well as butter will make it milky enough. Okay, once the dough is mixed, give it a quick temperature check. It looks like we got it right. Bulk fermentation at this temperature will take around 1.5 hours to 2 hours. It will be punctuated by one fold halfway through. This single fold replaces the whole kneading process. I have not actively kneaded a single bread dough since the beginning of last year. Resting and folding is the way to go. To perform the fold, dust the dough with flour, tip it out on the table with the smooth side down, flatten it out, then fold the edge over the middle, go around in a circle until you reach point where you started. Then flip it smooth side up again, tighten it against the table, place it back into the bowl, cover it up and leave it to finish bulk fermentation. It should look super big and puffy once it's ready. Before we move on to the final shaping, let's prepare the baking tin by brushing it with soft butter. The butter is not there to stop the bread from sticking to the tin. Its purpose is to make the crust extra brown and toasty. Now let's perform the final shaping. Dust the dough with flour, pop it out on the table with the smooth side down, sprinkle it with a little bit more flour if you feel that it's sticking, stretch it out into a long oval, giving it a slightly tapered shape, narrow at the top and wider at the bottom. And then starting from the top, roll it up as straight as you can. As you keep rolling, the loose piece of dough at the bottom may become narrower. All you need to do is pull it out sideways and keep rolling. Once the shaping is done, place the dough in the baking tin and then gently press it down to make it fit the tin perfectly. To make the top crust of this bread extra buttery, I decided to brush it with more butter. Of course, if you don't want to use so much butter, you don't have to. You don't need to brush the tin and you don't need to brush the dough. It's up to you. Okay, the final proof will be pretty quick at around 1 hour. During this time you want to preheat the oven to 180 degrees Celsius, 355 Fahrenheit, fan on, and that'll be 200 Celsius or 390 Fahrenheit, fan off. Once the dough has climbed up to the rim of the tin, it's ready for the oven. Gently slide over the lid if you're using one. Alternatively, you can cover your tin with some tin foil. Okay, this bad boy is ready for the oven. The initial bake will take 40 minutes. You'll notice that I've placed my loaf tin on a little tray. And that's because it's not completely sealed up and the butter tends to leak out. After the first 40 minutes of baking, remove the tin from the oven, then remove the loaf from the tin, and then place the loaf back into the oven for another 5 minutes of baking, just to finish off the crust. This will ensure that it keeps its shape as it cools down. And there you go, that's how you make a Pullman loaf. It's a nice little recipe with a nice result, super easy to make, it doesn't take a lot of time or effort, and you know, it's your classic sandwich bread. It is a soft white canvas. There are many things that you can do with it. I think the thing I like most about this bread is its shape. Unfortunately, it can only be achieved by using a special baking tin. It is not cheap, but it's a great investment, and you can bake so much more than just your regular white bread in it. But what are your favorite uses of white bread? Do you even eat white bread? I like the fact that it's plain, and you can use it for anything. You can make a nice sandwich for a snack. Here I'm using some good quality butter, some smoked cheese, sliced tomatoes, and a big piece of ham. 1 or 2 of these will be perfect for a quick lunch. Of course, this bread can also be used in sweet applications. Here I have a nice thick slice, which I'm going to toast under the broiler, because funny enough, I don't own a toaster. That crispy golden brown crumb is just asking for a little bit of butter, and a big spoon of strawberry jam to top it all off. White toast with butter and jam is one of the best things ever. A couple of these before a workout is what the doctor ordered. But while toast and jam and butter is a good sweet breakfast, it's not quite dessert. Luckily, this bread is perfect for French toast. Grab a little bowl, a little bit of sugar, some vanilla, add some cinnamon, crack an egg in there, add a little bit of milk, some optional orange or lemon zest, and anything else that you can think of. Whisk it all up until the sugar is completely dissolved and everything's nice and even. Grab a thick piece of bread and dunk it in there. Ideally, you want it to be a little bit stale so it soaks up all the goodness. Dip it a few times, flip it over, dip it again, do the sides, and it will be ready for the pan. When it comes to cooking, I like to use both oil and butter. Set the heat to medium. The oil will prevent the butter from burning. It will take around 5 minutes to fully cook. You want to flip it every minute or so. Once it's nicely golden brown on both sides, it's ready. You can serve this with some fresh berries and whipped cream, it's up to you. Or you can dust it with a thick layer of icing sugar. And there you have it. That's how you turn a slice of bread into cake. It is crispy on the outside, soft and bouncy on the inside, super sweet and delicious. But if you can't eat all this bread straight away, you can just as well slice it and freeze it. When it's like this, it's perfect for toasting. Freeze it in an airtight container, and then pull out a slice or 2 every day and pop it in the toaster, and you'll have perfectly fresh toast on demand. These are just some of the things that you can do with your basic white bread. And if you love basic recipes, head over to the basic bread playlist for plenty more. But that is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.